get a little break, but it's always good to get back in the game. It's first and 45, man. Glad to see you. Glad to see Bishop. Game time.
Now you had a big week this week. 61.
61. That's exactly right. I mean, hey.
Were you gonna still sing Happy Birthday to him?
I sang it before we went on the air, so my throat's a little raspy.
No, it is a blessing to be 61, guys. As I share with you all my family history, and I think I've lived 10 years longer than my father, 20 years older than my oldest brother. And so the goal is Operation Live to 80, so I can see all my grandkids, graduate high school. That's my goal. So I'm going to do everything in my power, Lord, healthy-wise, to be able to do that. And my oldest daughter, I was telling her when she was sending me pictures of the kids, and I just get inspired by my grandkids. That's why we do First and 45. And we're going to have a special guest joining us tonight, Joe Brown, who turned 45 this week. And when he said he didn't think he was going to see 45 based on his life. And that's why we do First and 45, to address the social determinants that are blocking our paths for our young men to become grandfathers.
Amen. Amen. All right, Bishop, you want to pray a little extra for Coach for 61 years?
Absolutely. God, we're grateful for just celebrating another life for Coach. And thank you, God, that First and 45 has a purpose, and we give you all the glory for it. We pray that you would bless our time together tonight. And as we go forth, God, bless the guests who share, and we celebrate him becoming 45 years of age, and that he can be an inspiration to the others who would listen and hear his voice and view him on tonight. It's in your great name, Jesus, we pray. Thank God and amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you all. Thank you all.
As always, love to start things out with the why. It's about the hungry. 44 million people in the U.S. who face hunger. Arkansas continues to be ranked the hungriest state in America. It's about the widow. The United States has the world's highest rate of children living in single-parent households. It's about the orphan. There's over 391,000 children in the U.S. living in the foster care system, nearly 4,000 of them right here in Arkansas. And when you look at the stats for a child aging out of foster care, 80% will have a child or be in prison within 2 years. 65% of them will experience homelessness at some point. This is a huge problem that is at the root of a lot of our larger problems here in America. It's about poverty. More than 38 million Americans live in poverty, with the majority of them being children of color. Right here in Arkansas, on any given night, there's about 17,000 kids who the schools have identified as homeless. That means that they're sleeping in cars, they're sleeping in relatives' house, they're couch hopping, they're doing things that no child should have to deal with. It's about addiction. Half of people over 12 years of age have used illicit drugs. Over 40,000 people will die in the U.S. each and every year from overdosing. And I will tell you something. I was hanging out with a lot of our EA recovery guys today. We were putting up a carport, Coach, for your trailer. So we keep it out of the weather, and we don't have to pay for that. And it is just so amazing to look at these men who have gone through addiction, and they're looking at their life in this new light, this new way, what Satan intended for evil, what he intended for harm. It's amazing to see when they start to get that spark.
I sit on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? And look forward to we're going to eat. We're going to be cooking on Easter, and I mean they have just engaged in the process of serving. We're getting ready to do another camp at Alexander. Going to try to do a volleyball and a football camp on the same time, and we're getting ready to start. It always empowers them. The last time they went out there with us, many of them saw themselves in those kids and wanted to help. I mean, and that's when you know that you're triggering something, when you start processing and say, "Hey, can I talk to him?" And say, and I always used to tell my student athletes, even though they come through tough times, okay, be what you had or desire to have. So if you had that, that's fine. But if you didn't, don't let that pain keep you from being what you wanted to have. And many times, you all giving them missions and giving them purpose, working and serving, it triggers everything. And that's the reason I believe that, you take a country like this, the best thing we can do is put the draft back in, and I'm telling you, and give people a purpose.
Exactly.
And humanize them again.
And that's it. I'm telling you,
Yes.
serving.
Yeah.
I mean, in our country, when I look up, and I don't mean to get off on a tangent, but serving changes you.
It does.
You know,
I
and
mean, Jesus's words were, "I came to serve."
that's it.
And when our Creator, when the Master of the Universe says, "I came to serve," and we probably ought to perk up our ears and listen and apply something there.
Rather than be served.
Exactly. The next one on my list is the prisoner. I mean, we know the U.S. leads the world in the total number of incarcerations. I'm going to talk more about this here in just a second. But at every Arkansan, our mission is to see more people chasing their God-given dream, serving others, getting out there, living that life. And far too often those dreams are sidelined because of the zip code you're born in more than anything else. So we're pleased to be able to host First and 45 with Coach Fitzhill, because all these factors I just mentioned are contributing factors to the one factor that we are here to change. The number one cause of death for a Black male age 0 to 44 is homicide. Not car accidents, not cancer, not heart disease. It is homicide. And that's why we've got our special guest for the second half celebrating that 45th birthday. It's something that means more to a man of color than anyone ever realizes.
You know what we need to start doing as we think about this, because it really hit me, is that for everybody, we need to have 2 or 3 times a year a luncheon celebration and as a way to you made it.
You made it.
Now it's time to give back. I mean,
Exactly.
turtle. I mean, I'm saying, because look, we're addressing the public health issue in our communities, which is fracturing the ecosystem. And I know you're going to speak about this, but most people don't understand the ripple effect of the homicide and how the prison population grows with each homicide, each attempted murder. So it's not just the one, that life is taken. It's usually 3 with each homicide.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know if you got to see, well, I guess you didn't because you were over at the track working out before you got over here, but the bill to allocate $750 million to fund the construction of that 3,000 bed prison in Franklin County failed on the Senate floor today.
I didn't know.
So the funding, even though they've approved it, they didn't approve the funding, and it could still come back and all that. But a note in the article said this. It says, those in favor of the prison cited the General County Detention Center overcrowding, leading to a failure of the misdemeanor justice system as inmates assigned jail terms for minor charges are being released due to lack of space. And so I'd never heard that term, misdemeanor justice system. And so I kind of looked it up, and it says the misdemeanor justice system handles less serious crimes, often with penalties like fines, community service, and short jail terms, as a distinct part of the broader criminal justice system. So this is petty theft. This is shoplifting. These are those little things. They were actually saying that the reason we need more prison beds is for that population. And you and I have talked about it. It's like the murderers, the attempted murderers, the violent, we need to lock them up.
No question.
Throw away the key if we need to do that, but we need to lock them up. But it was interesting that in this article that was talking about this failing, that was what they were concerned about. Because it's like, I'm looking at that and I'm like, you know what? We need to have punishments for those things.
No question.
The shoplifters that are shutting down our convenience stores on every corner, we need to have punishments for those. I don't know the jail's the punishment.
Correct.
Community service, I think, is a great punishment.
No question.
Spend every day off that you got if you're not working, serving back your community, giving back. But it was just interesting that they didn't pass the budget for that prison this morning.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. I'll be reading that tonight.
So we shall see what in the world comes of all of that in the coming weeks and days and all of that.
But I think, and I'm always going to say this: we don't want dangerous people on the street.
No.
All right, so I don't ever want.
I got 3 little girls. I want them safe.
No question. All right, so that's but the prevention and intervention and diversion, which we're working on, strategically recovery for the hurting people who continue to hurt people, and understanding, addressing the moral crisis that we're facing in our communities by not addressing the social determinants that are leading to this type of behavior. It's where we're failing. And so we have to attempt to be transformative in these areas rather than treating symptoms. Prisons treat symptoms and rehabilitate those behind.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
I call it resuscitation during incarceration. All right. But I'm saying right now we have an opportunity for the middle school, the junior high and high school to be transformative if we get those kids in time, just like you all took the kids to Black Wall Street. I mean, and it was shocking for many of them to know the history.
Well, so Peter came into my office today, and he went on the trip, and he was just trying to document with those kids what they thought of it. And he says, Drew, he goes, I was kind of heartbroken. So, I mean, there were 15 youth that went on that trip, all children of color, male and female. They were all 7th, 8th, 9th grade, that age range. And Peter is a first generation American from Nigeria. And he says, Drew, he goes, I understood what was going on with the violence and the Black Wall Street way more than these kids that grew up here in America. And he was talking about so many of them, they walked away and they were kind of angered by the violence that ensued, but they didn't understand the struggle that so many of those families in Tulsa had gone through that changed their mind and said, look, we're not going to just survive. We're going to thrive. He said,
against all odds.
Against all odds. He said, these kids understood slavery and they understood racism. But he goes, everything in between that's gone on that should make them stronger, he says they have no comprehension of. And it shook him. Because, I mean, when we look at it, you can go two ways when adversity hits.
No question.
You can either say, oh, time to stop and give up, or that's a wall I need to punch through. I need to climb over, need to go around, need to go under, or whatever. The story of Black Wall Street is about doing that, going through that wall and saying, I don't care that you hate me. I don't care that you're discriminating against me. I don't care this. I'm going to beat you. Self-sustainability. But self-thriving beyond that, because I think one of the things about Black Wall Street that is so impressive to me is there was a level of envy that the white establishment had towards those citizens of that area of Tulsa, because they had reached a level of success that most of the whites had not.
That's exactly right.
Even though the Jim Crow laws were there, everything that was trying to hold it back. You couldn't stay in our hotels, you couldn't eat in our restaurants, you couldn't do that. They said, so what?
We'll do our own.
That's
exactly right.
But it was so astonishing to Peter that we've got Black History Month, we've got all these things, but these kids didn't understand it in their soul, in their roots.
Yeah. And I think it's important because I've been there and I go there, on the regular, but I think it's important to understand that history just started really being told a few years, and because I didn't know anything about it, growing up in the 60s and 70s. I mean, but I'd
heard of the race riots.
Yeah, but we didn't know
that was it.
That was it. And so all the things that you're talking about from North Carolina to Birmingham, Alabama, we didn't know that. And so, and most of all the Black history I learned was in Sunday school and at church. I went to St. Paul AME Church, and when we would have vacation Bible school, that's where we learned about. During the summer, I went to 3 vacation Bible schools: Baptist, Methodist, Church of God in Christ, and that's where we learned Black history every summer. And we spoke about these Black figures all the time on Saturday. That was Black history for us. But the thing is now, even then, from the family structure that we had, from the community structure we had. You don't have that tight knit community as it was in a segregated fashion, and for various reasons. And so, but we have seen the church decline for participation, and even fathers who didn't go sent their children back in that time. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, Fred?
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, at least some of them used to go home after Sunday school. I had to stay for the whole time, but at least you were in Sunday school.
I was there back at night.
Yeah, no, but BTU. But I'm saying, but that was part of the community culture, you know, that we had.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me. Oh man, it's pretty first quarter.
It is.
Before I jump into the next thing, I better go ahead and say, hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more First and 45 with Coach Fitzgerald. So don't go anywhere. We got a whole lot more of the story to tell.
As a former football coach, knowing the engagement that takes place on the football field, the basketball courts, the track, baseball, outside of extracurricular activity, META is the best academic curriculum I've seen for the oftentimes socially challenged student. And glad to have a pilot program going here now with Hamilton Learning Academy, as well as juvenile detention facility, to inspire, grow hope to a population of kids who sometimes don't believe that in the United States that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is for them. And so this opportunity allows them to see that, to feel that, and to engage in that, and to leave here thinking that I can do something that maybe they didn't think they could do prior to enrolling in the META 24 program.
All right, who's the CFO? Yeah. Come on up. Give the CFO a round of applause. All right, what's the marketing promotion team?
My name is Shania, and I make this pillow. It's a baby pillow for babies. It can be for a boy or for a girl. It's saying, be what you want to be. I really want to make a side hustle of this and give pillows to the hospital so you don't get good rest with soft pillows like this.
In the future, I want to 3D print some stuff that will help us in the world. I would love to print 3D houses to help architects build real houses, because there's a lot of people in the world that homeless right now, and I feel like if I'm able to print 3D houses, I feel like architects can make more houses faster.
And we are back with First and 45 with Coach Fitzgerald, the 61-year-old super phenom on track.
You look pretty good for 61. I think that's it. Like 61.
Here's the deal that I'm proud of. I weigh the same at 61 I did at 41.
Wow, that's good.
Yep. That's how
I'm hoping when I'm 61, I weigh way less than I did at 41.
That's good. Grandkids.
Yes, I'm telling you, that's the deal. If you can still, because I don't buy suits anymore since I'm not, president or anything like that. So, but I can still wear all my clothes that had it for. Of course, I don't change my wardrobe. Jeans or jeans. You know what I'm saying? When you have kids, you have to take care of everybody else before you take care of you. So
Exactly.
But to be able to say 20 years separation, I can still wear the same clothes.
Yeah, another article that was in the paper, there were two more bills introduced this week. Helping prisoners succeed is what it said. New Arkansas bills aim to reduce repeat crimes. Arkansas's got a big problem. Almost half of the people released from prison return within 3 years.
Recidivist, yep.
I mean, that's crazy to me. To fix this, lawmakers are working on two new bills. These bills focus on giving prisoners better education and job training while they're still behind bars, so they have a better chance of staying out of prison when they get out. It says the goal is simple: help prisoners learn useful skills so they can get jobs, support themselves, and avoid going back to jail. The idea is already showing results. A study found that people who get education in prison are 48% less likely to go back. Education. Also, their chances of getting a job after they release go up by 65%. And this is exactly what we've been talking about with Meta and with this. Why don't we focus on this education and this job skills training before they ever go to prison?
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I did a commencement address at the juvenile detention facility 3 weeks ago. There was 9 high school graduates, and I sit there. I'm excited to do it, but I'm saying when a person's not engaged in school, when you go to the juvenile center, you're going there because you've done something wrong, and it's really, in a sense, it's a boarding school.
Absolutely.
All right, but you have to rethink the boarding school model. But that's what it is, because you're going there to do what you would be doing in a boarding school. And so my deal is and it's more expensive in that environment.
Oh, absolutely.
So if we were able to take the kids, because those kids who continue to be suspended, go back to school, continue to be suspended, not involved in extracurricular activity, and they don't have the structure to guide them, which biblically comes from the husband and the wife. And that's the kingdom. That's one family. That's one little kingdom as God has meant for it to be. But that's fractured. So now, we have to build this village for this population that you sit here start off the show and say, when we don't, that's what it grows to.
Exactly.
All right. And so how are we going to change that? And prison is addressing symptoms, and we're rehabilitating and resuscitating life in prison. And they didn't just grow up that way. There was usually 18, 19, 20 years that led to that behavior. And I'm saying, if we get the opportunity, when we had Turtle and my son here, and that's what they were talking about, you have a choice to make these decisions. And it's our goal is to make sure that we're giving the roadmap for success for our young people to choose. Now, hey, if you want to choose that, it's fine. And there'll be consequences, and you have to do that. But to your point, everybody doesn't need to be locked up, for something.
I mean, we spend $120K a year on locking up youth. IMG Academy, I think that's how you say it, is the top sports boarding school in the country. It's only $60,000
That's
a year.
Right. And
so,
then you get a scholarship.
to D1 good school and NIL money. But Arkansas has been trying some programs. In 2023, the state started the Justice Reinvestment Initiative to understand why people return to prison and how to help them succeed once they're out. One program, Pathway to Freedom, which we've heard of, is a faith-based group that helps inmates prepare for life after prison. Great. Another, Barbara A. Esther unit in Pine Bluff, offers GED classes, job training, and classes to help inmates change their thinking and behavior. Great. Once again, man, how much better off would we have been if we'd gotten this into the inmates' heads before they were inmates?
No question.
Back when they were just our neighbor. The new bills show that leaders in Arkansas understand how important education and support are. One lawmaker wants to use $100 million from taxes to help fund crime prevention and support services after release. Release. In the end, these new bills could make a big difference by teaching prisoners new skills and helping them prepare for life outside. Man, what difference could it make if we taught them to prepare to avoid the life inside? Because I look at so many of the young kids that we've met, whether it's through the ALEs or it's through incarceration or whatever. I mean, so much of the behavior you see is exactly that. It's just misbehavior. So many of them haven't crossed over that line. They've not crossed over that line to where they're unredeemable.
Yeah.
They're at that point to where it's kind of like what you talk about with the military coach. Man, we need to recognize this as a person, a child of God, and give them purpose. And if purpose isn't in going to school, well, let's look at the military option.
Yeah.
Let's look. I mean,
you should not be able to do nothing.
No. And I think I was thinking about this the other day, Coach, because of the way our system has incentivized doing nothing financially for so many people. I remember Cortez and his ships when he got over to the U.S. He burned his ships, so there was no turning back.
That's exactly right.
There was nowhere to go but forward.
That's it.
And with the safety net that's supposed to take care of people that are broken, we're taking care of people that are totally capable and convincing them they're broken.
Yeah.
And
the
system has created such a safety net that it's disincentivized people from moving forward and chasing a dream.
No question.
Because it's just become so easy. I remember I ran track. I wasn't the tallest. I wasn't the speediest, but I would outwork everyone. And I set state records. I mean, there were 2 years there. I never lost a race. I wasn't the best, but I worked harder than anyone else.
Driven.
I was driven. And what would change for so many of our youth if there wasn't this fallback? If they had purpose and cause that, look, man, if I want to get ahead, I got to be driven. And it breaks my heart, because even in going to Sunday school, VBS and all these other things, it's like you did your sword drills.
Yep.
You did your Bible memorization. I mean, we were challenging the kids to move forward in their faith with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost a disappointment now when I look at my own daughter and I'm like, man, I feel like I knew the word better at her age than she does.
Mm-hmm.
Where have I as a parent messed up? And because there's no Bible memorization. I mean, if there's a sword drill, she looks it up on her phone. I mean, man, I won a ton of prizes finding those verses in the Bible on my own, just turn to those pages.
Yeah.
And it's
memorization back then was something, man.
Exactly. But there is so much that breaks my heart for this generation that I didn't have to deal with. I didn't have a phone till I was out of college. I mean, so that wasn't a distraction. There was no social media and all that. I mean, we went out and did stuff. We went to the track. We went to the football games. We went to do these things.
It's interesting you said the social media piece. My kids taught me social media. When they were my oldest daughter, I didn't know anything about Facebook. I just started watching them, and then I thought, oh, okay, what is this? You know, I mean, that's how I got. I mean, that's how I got email. You know, I was helping in San Jose. I first got my first, and that's why I keep my Hotmail account now. I first got that in San Jose in 2001, and so and everybody know how to get me. I said that system's never down. You know, the Hotmail. So, but you know, those are things that when you think about this century, and that's what I've been looking at, how the homicide epidemic has really impacted our state. This which I'm gonna be doing my next First and 45 spring edition on how it's really the negative impact, the detrimental effects with the homicide rate and the prison incarceration rate you're talking about. It has fractured the ecosystem. And my daughter, who went to Howard University, I just got this article yesterday. They did the study and showed that Howard University, the mecca, what Black law schools, dental schools, medical schools, and that perception. My daughter told me this, and this really, it's expensive to go to school there, but she told me this. She had emergency. She had to go to the emergency room in Howard, and this blew her mind. So she went there and she called me. She said, Dad, I have to tell you something. I had to go to the emergency room. And I said, well, baby, okay, yeah. She said, Dad, you know what, though? She said, I saw something I never seen before. I said, what? She said, everybody in there was Black. She said, the radiologist, the deal, the doctor was Black, the nurses was Black. She said, Dad, I didn't know that existed. And it just blew me away to understand the history of that institution, that they have those things. And now this is my daughter.
Right.
Okay. Graduate from PA. And how that changed her whole thinking. You know, because what you see is what you think you can be.
Right.
And it was really transformative for her, because she went in there thinking, okay, this is what she's seen all her doctors for the most part. You know, of course, you know, her mother, you know, had a black female gynecologist and things. So we had those. But for everybody going to a hospital, you know, the environment. It really a Black Wall Street type of moment,
right?
You know, from education that those type of things lead to transformation. You know,
but and it's one of those things that I think so many of us we look at a situation, we're like, man, I want to be rich like such and such. And when you can identify that, when you can see that rubbing shoulders with you in your everyday life, someone that's serving you in that capacity. I mean, because you think about a doctor. I mean, they went to 4 years and got their bachelor's, and then they went to 4+ years to be a med school, and then they did probably a couple of years of specialty, and then they'd do 3 or 4 years of being an intern, making nothing to get there. To reach that epitome, I mean, talk about the sacrifice in order to be able to serve others.
And I was talking about how, because here's the deal, and I know it's almost time for a break, but check this out. Howard University reported that only 19% of the population is Black. Now, that's what y'all process. Right. That's why first and foremost, only 19%. Man. And so the ladies are talking about the low, and the total is 26% of all men, but only 19% of those are African American. So I just want you to think about an institution, thousands of people, only 19% of the ecosystem, right, in our country. And now when we look at this prison and we look at this death, those are the things that we must, as HBCU, addressing. And I think about that because my daughter graduated from there. But when you think about Howard, FAMU, all these institutions that, you know, Morehouse, and you think at the top HBCU for academic achievement, only 19% student population. That's a crisis. Yes. Yeah.
It's insane.
It is. Really is. That's why we're doing first and 45.
Absolutely. Hey guys, it is halftime here with the show of First and 45 with Coach Hill. You don't want to go anywhere. We have a special guest coming up celebrating at 45.
Black men have so many different problems, so many different issues. Homicide rate, high incarceration rate, fatherless homes. What is America going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it? Yeah, what are we going to do about it? When I say we, I'm talking to Black men. I'm asking us, what are we going to do about issues that negatively impact Black men and boys to a greater degree than other demographics? Everybody knows about the homicide epidemic in this country regarding Black men and boys. While comprising only 6% of the nation's population, will account for 50% of the nation's homicide victims. So what are we going to do about it? Here's another disturbing reality. While making up only 6% of the nation's population, we're about 40% of the nation's prison population. In fact, 1 in 3 Black males are projected to go to jail in their lifetime. Again, I ask, what are we going to do about it? Collectively, Black men have the means to solve these problems. We just don't have the mind to do so. And means without the mind is meaningless. Brother, it doesn't mean.
We don't discuss enough the emotional and mental health of Black men. Purpose Found Incorporated presents Black Men Worship, Spiritual Care and Mental Health Day on April 26 at the Wyndham Riverfront in North Little Rock, featuring Dr. Fitzgerald Hill, Bishop Avery Austin of the Total Deliverance Church.
Then come those people who keep giving you nothing but bad advice.
Jazz artist Rodney Block and keyboardist KJ Robinson, featuring gospel artist Marcus Jordan.
When I call on your name, Jesus.
Join us for this impactful event, transforming lives with faith, music, and mental health. Breakfast and lunch will be served. Register today at www.purposefoundinthemoment.com/event. Sponsored by Dr. Bridget Winfrey of Purpose Found Incorporated.
And we're back with first and 45. And Coach was here, great first half, gentlemen. And Coach, he was talking about something about $100 million, I guess, have been looked at or allocated possibly to bring to basically revitalize persons who are coming out of prison. And we're talking about, and this is something you've been talking about, that an intentional focus has to be on the young people, 19 years of age and younger. Can you just kind of speak to that? I know you got a lot to highlight. We got special guests coming up, but can you kind of speak to the importance of saving the young kids?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm all about prison ministry and rehabilitation, but I'm saying because that's what we're doing and treating the symptoms as leading to that, we continue to build more prisons. So you have to take a frontal approach. And it's like we treat every public health crisis. Mm-hmm. We didn't just, when you got COVID, we looked at how did you catch COVID? Right. I mean, that was the deal. You go back. So there was a game plan. If you stay 6 feet apart, don't aggregate to get, all these things. We have never done that to look at this gun crisis and things that we're doing. And now a lot of people say we don't have a gun crisis, which they're right, because they said the guns can only act when somebody pulled the trigger. So that is true. But the death rate, have you ever heard of a drive-by knifing?
Nope.
Okay. So that alone is what I'm talking about, that we must address for the behavior. And so when you start thinking about the behavior of our people, mm-hmm. and y'all know I often talked about Trading Places, the movie. Right. All right. And that's what we're saying. Our kids, what they see, they try to be. And that's what, my daughter, when I was just making reference to her brain was stretched to think, oh, I can be a radiologist. Oh, I can do this. Oh, she was a dancer. That's why she went to Howard. Mm-hmm. But it stretched her brain to think about what was potential. And I think that's important. What you did this week with the students, with those young people, for them to get out of the house and be gone on that trip, mm-hmm. that was exposure for them that they never would have had it not been for Everett, Kansas.
Exactly. And that's the goal.
Yeah.
Exposure. It's one of those things. I mean, you say it all the time on the stretching your brain, but if we don't expose children to opportunity, mm-hmm. they will never dream. I mean, I tell the story all the time of the little kid that I took from right there on Bishop Street, right beside where Derek got killed, mm-hmm. to Park Plaza Mall, which is, we can see it out the window here. And we're talking, I could probably see Arkansas Baptist from here if I looked really hard. Mm-hmm. That's the distance. And this kid had never seen Park Plaza Mall. So many of our children have never seen what's even here in our own community.
That's right.
Because we, as the people of this community, have not made it accessible for them. We've not invited them into places. We've not invited them to our homes to eat. We've not invited them into our churches. We've not invited them in all these things. We said, oh, the doors are open, come and join us. But sometimes it takes going and getting them and bringing them with you. We've got to have the mindset just like that of taking the unengaged, the unconnected, and we've got to invite them and bring them to a seat at the table. And it's just the same reason why 6th and Goal is so important, because those kids, without an invitation to mm-hmm. come and play football, they will be invited somewhere else.
Oh, no question.
And that somewhere else, in most of their cases, is negative and bring them down versus seeing an identifiable role model that is coaching, encouraging, and challenging them to be better versions of themselves.
Absolutely. And give them that vision and being there to support. That's the reason I said, guys, it doesn't take a lot of time. It's the quality over the quantity and people knowing that they have expectation, that they care. That's why I said, hey, be with these young men twice a week, eat lunch with them one day a week, and be with them on Saturday. Totally changes the culture, of the community. But
absolutely.
I want to talk about incarceration trends in Arkansas, since you brought that up, until our guest can join us. But I don't think y'all realize just how Arkansas, we regionally rank number 2 of 7 in total incarceration in this region. So and that region is Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. So in this region, we're ranked number 2. The total people locked up in Arkansas from 1983 to 2015 has increased 311%. Okay. In 1983 in Arkansas, there were only 5,743 people incarcerated. In 2015, there were 23,632. So this is what we're talking about. So, so what changed in our society from the 80s, for the 20th to the 21st century? Now, here's the deal when you start looking at disparities and why we have to continue to address these issues as they are, specifically for the things that we're trying to change the numbers, is that in Arkansas, Black people constitute 16% of the state population, but 37% of the people in jail and 41% of the people in prison. Now, but still that number, that's Black, that's male and female. So that goes back to the deal. If you have, it's like 228,000 Black males in the state of Arkansas. So when you start looking at that, it still goes back to the percentage of 2% to 3% that's making up, and I call it this generation of poverty, of moral decline, teenage pregnancy, all the social terms that have been created. So what we have to do, to your point, Bishop, is that we have to be strategic in addressing these moral issues that we didn't have prior to 80s. So and across the board, but the disparity and disproportionality is even more so in our communities. So, it's like, well, people ask me, and I say this on a regular basis, probably once a month, people say, well, why are you so focused on this population? I said, well, it's the only homicide epidemic of the population. So that's why we must address it. I say, so would you prefer that I sit here and I have a son, a son-in-law, and 3 grandsons? And this is what the data tells me. All right. And Mother Olivier, I don't know if she's listening, but that's my son. All right. My son goes off to college. So I'm speaking on behalf of Derek and all the 30 mothers today that has experienced what Mother Olivier and Father Joe, that Papa Joe experienced. Right. So that's why we're doing First and 45. Because, and we have to continue ringing out this voice because of that, because if we don't, it's like a silent killer, because nobody talks about it, and we're ashamed of it, and we're embarrassed by all of that. But when I look at breast cancer, Race for the Cure, well, breast cancer is the number 2 cause of death for females, not number 1. But everybody wear pink in the fall. Okay, even NFL and women don't play football, but everybody wearing pink. Tennis shoes, everything. Yeah. I mean, they're out there in pink socks and wristbands, everything. Why? They're bringing awareness to the breast cancer, which is number 2 cause of death for women. Well, I'm saying, okay, this is the number 1 cause. All right. And we're going to start, like I said, Drew said, we're going to get us some shirts and some hats and we're going to start doing some things, because we got to start promoting this for the epidemic that it is, so we can address this social crisis and this fractured ecosystem that we're having in our communities that's leaving to why Howard University has 19% men. All right. And why the enrollment of Black men in HBCUs is the lowest it's been since 1976. Now, I just want y'all to think about that. And my study right now is showing is one reason I really believe this. And the numbers to be able to say this. I was telling Drew the other day, Coach Nutt, when we was coaching there, he has the most first round draft picks of any head football coach at the University of Arkansas. All right. And 4 out of 6 of those were from the state of Arkansas. If you're going to get a great player, he's going to probably have to be produced in your state. There are some exceptions, and Batman Curl and those type of things. And we're going to be talking about this later in the week. But how many first round draft picks have we lost? Because of the numbers that we've been talking about, we've had in Little Rock alone, guys, almost 1,000 black men murdered in the 21st century. Now, how many athletes were in that group? Pine Bluff, almost 400. How many athletes were in that group? Ripple effect of incarcerated because of that.
Incarcerated, wounded, and taken out of action.
No question.
So that number 1,400 goes very rapidly to 10, 15,000.
Yeah, exactly. When you start looking at and we're talking, and we're just talking about murder. We're not talking attempted murder. That number's 3 to 1.
Yes.
All right. So for every 1,000 that you have 3,000 that are end up being wounded. Hey, we're gonna take a break, and then hopefully our guest was running behind, and my man Joe, he's gonna be able to come back. Joe, we're gonna close it down with you. Stay tuned. We may let you get some welding out and get your welding tools out there. We may let you go ahead and pull your fire and show us how you do that. Hey man, Coach Fitz, I got Pastor Drew. We'll be right back with the fourth quarter. We're gonna finish strong with Joe Brown, the welding man. He's your welding coach. We'll be right back.
Black men have so many different problems, so many different issues. Homicide rate, high incarceration rate, fatherless homes. What is America going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it? Yeah, what are we going to do about it? When I say we, I'm talking to black men. I'm asking us, what are we going to do about issues that negatively impact black men and boys to a greater degree than other demographics? Everybody knows about the homicide epidemic in this country regarding black men and boys. While comprising only 6% of the nation's population, will account for 50% of the nation's homicide victims. So what are we going to do about it? Here's another disturbing reality. While making up only 6% of the nation's population, we're about 40% of the nation's prison population. In fact, 1 in 3 black males are projected to go to jail in their lifetime. Again, I ask, what are we going to do about it? Collectively, black men have the means to solve these problems. We just don't have the mind to do so. And means without the mind is meaningless, brother. It doesn't mean.
And we're back to First and 45 with Coach Fitzhill, and it is the final fourth quarter. We've got 4 things, fourth quarter, and Coach, we're excited to hear about to get a chance to meet this Joe Brown you've been talking about. Pastor Drew, he was talking about it earlier, and really excited about him being on with us tonight.
Yeah, it is. And to tell you, he was working at Goodwill, teaching welding classes, and last year he asked me to come over and do I came over and spoke for him, and I was just so inspired by what he's doing in teaching welding and how the skills can really change young men and young ladies' lives. And that's what he's doing, and giving them a purpose through welding. And he's transforming. He's working in Northwest Arkansas now. We're hoping to get him in our in our school system and our private school stuff here that we're trying to do to be able to put up a welding show and allow people to be empowered. But this week I follow him on TikTok as nearly 50,000 other people do. And
wow.
He's big time now. And so he said his birthday, and it really spoke to my heart. He said, I'm 45 and never, many people didn't think I was going to ever make 45. I was told I'd be dead by the time I was 18, but he's made it to 45. And Joe, welcome to First and 45 with Coach Fitzhill. And we're so happy for you to share with, and we're going to take this clip and share it around, and we'll send it back to you. Our people cut up, and I want you to share it because when you said 45, I said, I got to get him on the show because you said you were told by how your experience. I want you to share your life experience and how your life was transformed and now how you're giving that back and to help other people. And you're using the skill that God has blessed you with to be a blessing. Share that with our listeners because your story is so powerful and impactful.
Okay, thank y'all for having me. I really do appreciate it. I apologize. I was a little late. I kind of had to got caught up in traffic, had to wait on somebody, but needless to say, I'm here. And like Coach said, I just turned 45 Saturday. And what really stood out to me being 45 was over the years, I was literally told I wouldn't make it to see 18. So every year after 18 has been a blessing and I count it, but 45 hits different for me this time because I'm a grandfather. I got 2 grandkids now, and I have 2 grown kids, and I got 1 son, and I literally come back so I can help mold them and shape them. And being a grandparent, as you know, it's a different feeling. And I never experienced it before, but I'm most definitely able to give back that way. So, parent, to make it to 45, man, it really was emotional to me. just to make it, to see myself in this stage, But I got introduced to welding from my mother while I was incarcerated. I got incarcerated at the age of 16 when I went to prison. And while I was down there, my mother wanted to give me something that could keep me from coming back to prison. So during this particular time, she was coming down to visit me because I had got in trouble while I was in prison. I wasn't even in prison 90 days yet. And I had caught another charge, attempted murder charge for protecting myself. And while I was in the hole, I was still able to visit my mom. And she heard about the incident through the prison because she's from McGee and the prison was in Grady. And, it's a small town, so people talk. And so she knew what was going on, but she told me when she came down, she said, son, I'm not going to lie. I know that was some bad news I heard, but that night I was able to sleep so good because I knew you was going to take care of yourself because I was afraid you was young. I thought the man probably going to take advantage of you, but you let me know that you was going to stand up for yourself, and I was able to sleep good. And when she woke up, ironically, she was watching some TV before she came to see me, and she seen a welding commercial. And she said what caught her attention was they said they could make $100 an hour, and they could travel, and they could be felons. And she was like, "Ooh, I got them. This is what I'm going to give them." And she literally came down there and told me about what she seen, told me how welders can teach and how they can.
And man, I tell you, hopefully we'll get him back.
Yeah,
we'll get him back. But his story is powerful.
Man, listen, we were getting ready to get some popcorn.
I know. Hopefully he'll come back on. And he's in Northwest Arkansas. But his story is what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Just turned 45.
Grandparent. All right. And imagine look what his grandkids would have lost if he had been killed. And now, the void that he's feeling, he's back. Okay, we're back. Hey, man. Hey, they were trying to get some popcorn while you was out. Come on back with it. Keep going right there.
Okay.
Come on with it. You're preaching now.
So what? Okay, so what happened was when she came down, she said, okay, I'm going to send you some papers to kind of get you familiar with the trade. So she literally sent me 5 or 6 papers from the encyclopedia because at this time, the internet wasn't popular. So she went to the library and literally ran off some copies, front and back. And it just told me when welding started, some of the things it did. And family, when I tell you that was my Bible, I hold them 5 little pieces of paper. I was 16 at the time. It wasn't until I was 22 until I got into the welding program. So I hold that long until I was able to get into the welding program to become a welder. And as of this year, March the 3rd, I got 21 years experience on paper from the day I graduated that program. And it's just a blessing to say that I've been doing something for that long and I've been consistent at it the whole time. And it was something that she gave me from visitation trying to save me. And it literally saved my life. So that's why I use the hashtag Save by Welding, because it was the tool she used to help put me in a different situation. And the cool thing about it, my mother she didn't know nothing about welding. She didn't have a clue. But what she knew was that if she could give me the right tools and put my mind in the right focus, it'll change my direction. And it completely did that, fam. She's not alive today to see what I have done, but I know she's looking down on me and smiling at me because I have done some amazing things with the trade, from traveling, from owning my own home, owning 2 homes, from owning my own RVs, from traveling from South Carolina to Washington State and all in between. I have seen the country based on a trade that was introduced to me while I was incarcerated. So it has literally changed my life. So that's why I teach it and I motivate people to dive into it, because I know one thing for a fact. I don't have to be the person that teach them. I could just be the person that planted a seed, just like my mother. And by me going in it and doing what I'm doing, my seed is going to go a little deeper because they see me do it. They witness me do it. So I know if I can tell them, hey, if I can do this and I'm a felon and I can travel and I can do these things and buy these things and put myself in a position, a good position to win, why can't you do it?
Hey, and
so now more people are diving into it.
I want, Bishop had asked me this question, and I know, man, we're gonna have to get you back, and hopefully when next time you're in Little Rock, you can just come to the stadium and do the whole show with us because of what we're wanting to do. Talk a little bit about the decision you made that put you in prison, and the guidance that you didn't have, and now you're doing what I always say: be what you wish, be what you had, or what you wish you had. You know what I'm saying? And so. What led you, because you didn't have that, your mother gave you purpose when she said, but this is what I want you to do. And then you had no purpose, and that led you to the joint.
Yes. What happened was, during this time, for what led me to prison was, I didn't have no guidance. Majority of the people that was surround me was hustlers. So I grew up in the epidemic of the crack epidemic. So, during that time, we were seeing people that looked like us with money that we never seen. And they was having cars, they was having homes. And so that's what I got attracted to. I got attracted to the fast money because some of my relatives that my mother brought me to, that's all they was doing. And my mother came down, we moved back from Denver. And when we moved back down, my father had got on drugs. And I didn't know it at the time, but I knew we went from sleeping in a nice house to sleeping in a car. And we had to come back to Arkansas, and that was humbling for me. And when I seen it, and I finally got around and she took me around her family, that just was all I was engulfed with. And now that I think about it, the older gentlemen that literally taught me how to hustle, they was telling me to put the guns down, but they didn't know nothing else but the drugs and that type of money. But they was like, stay away from the guns, put the guns down. So it was like a conflict of interest, but I know they was only giving me the best they had. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, look, we got to go, but we're gonna have you back. And I'm gonna try to get you in Laura because I want you here for the whole hour because what you're doing is transformative, and we need to be promoting this as a way. It's not always college. I mean, you're Black Wall Street. You're the things that we've been talking about that we want to have. Bishop, close us out in the word of prayer and pray over our welder right there that we can bring him here to help us empower.
I appreciate it.
God, we just bless you, and we thank you for Joe sharing on tonight, and thank you that you've given him a natural skill, but you certainly have placed him in a spiritual place to where he can take and use that to other young men who are coming up, who are in those broken places that he once was. We celebrate his mom on tonight, and we celebrate the gift that he is and what he is to us even tonight. In your great name, Jesus, we thank you, we praise you, and we say amen.
Until next time, we'll see you, Joe. God bless you.
Be blessed. Continue to prosper.
All right.
Hold on.